S3 Foundations, getting started with S3. I've got to admit, as I started to record this and create the slides for this, my mind was just kind of like, okay, here we go. We're coming out of VPC, really heavy networking topic, and now moving into S3, which is really focused on storage. And it was difficult for me to start this. I'm like, okay, take VPC and put it aside. Okay, there's that bucket. Now let's talk about S3, which has its own buckets that we're going to be talking about, configuring it and all that. And my mind is just going, okay, shake it off. It's like I have to shake it off because we're moving into yet another product suite. And then it really hit me. I thought, man, what Amazon has done with AWS is really put together a suite of products that encompasses almost everything that you would need to be able to do in IT. I mean, that's really it. I mean, when you start getting into storage in IT, that's its own specialization, and networking in IT. I mean, you can have people that's all they do is networking. You know, it's a Cisco specialist. He does switches, he does routers, he does firewalls. I mean, that's all they do, and yet that's just one piece of AWS. So it's if you're having trouble, if you go like, man, my mind is about ready to explode, join the crowd. It's just a lot to AWS. So now we're moving into S3. It gets its name because it's three S's. Think of it like S cubed. Simple Storage Service is what it stands for. So it got its name S3. It's three S's. So what's Amazon's goal with this? Well, thankfully they named it simple because that is really their goal. There's not much to S3. It is storage in the cloud. It's really good storage. So we're going to unpack that as we get into the practical uses, like why, what is S3? We'll demystify that first of all, then get into some of the practical uses and then how much this will cost you. Well, let's start off with what is Amazon S3? It is simple storage service, simple storage by design. And when you get in there, you're going to see it. You go, oh, well, not much to it. It's just a place to put files. And I think that's a good way of thinking of it. It is your big hard drive in the sky, your hard drive in the cloud, where you can put whatever you want on there. And Amazon has made it web accessible to where you can attach a URL to it and then say, okay, I want to be able to access that and do some basic static web hosting. Now, if you haven't gotten too heavy into development, static web hosting means just a website that doesn't have dynamic content. So you've got your index.htm, which is your home page, and that calls to a file called file.jpg that you have on there. That's a picture of something. It's just a basic website that you can grab because Amazon has no problem streaming content out of S3 to the web. Now, it doesn't allow dynamic content delivery, meaning take a scripting language like PHP that's running behind the scenes on a server and generating HTML. It's looking at a database and saying, okay, based on this request, this is what the web page is going to look like. No, that's not S3. It's just again, simple place to put stuff. It can hold objects up to 5 terabytes each, not 5 terabytes total space, 5 terabytes per object. Insane amount of storage size for the object, and it is unlimited space, meaning they will give you as much as you are willing to pay for per region. Now that is, I put all of that in one sentence. Those are heavy things per region. So that means when I put 5 terabytes of files in the California region for AWS, that's where it is. It's stored in those data centers, and you can get all that data within that region. You know that there's multiple sites within that region that you can copy between gigabit speed, and that's amazing that you're able to do that. But if I want those files out of S3 and send them out to Virginia, across the United States, then you're going to be charged for that. You're going to be charged transfer, and then you're going to be charged for the storage out in Virginia. There's your other hard drive in the sky, if you will, that's on. So all of your pricing is based on storage and transfer. So you're going to be charged on a per gigabyte basis of what you are storing on there, and it's nominal, but it adds up. So 10 cents a gigabyte sounds like, oh, not much. And if you don't, if you're hosting, if you're hosting a website like that, great. 10 cents to run your website on Amazon S3, and then per transfer. So as you reach certain levels of, and we'll look at the pricing in a moment. So as you're sending data out of that, copying in, copying out, you're going to be charged on the transfer of that data. My mind immediately, as I'm talking about this, is already going to the uses, which is the next slide. So I'll save that to then. So why is this amazing? Why can't you just go to GoDaddy or Bluehost or something like that and just put some stuff up there and store it there? Well, first off, GoDaddy and Bluehost are not advertising that they are storage, so they will smack you down if it's not being used for your website. So doing like an online backup to Bluehost or GoDaddy, they're going to say, whoa, disable your account. We are not an online backup company. This is amazing. I mean, you probably have read ahead, right? 99.999% durability level. That means, and they quantify that right on their website. Amazon says if you store 10,000 objects in your S3 bucket and if it's at that durability, you will lose one object every 10,000 years. Nice. So the way that they make that happen, it's kind of like, come on. Are they just saying that? No. What they do is they actually have set up S3 to where you're actually writing to multiple sets of multiple hard drives at the same time. At least two. So for example, let's say you've got, let's decrypt it. What is that cloud? Let's say here's Amazon's data center. They have, and you know what? I showed one to you. I put this Synology box up here because I meant to talk about it. And I just blew right by it on the introductions, whining about how big AWS really is. But I've got to give props to this box. This is a Synology DS812 Plus. I bought this 8 months ago and just filled it with hard drives. It gave me 12 terabytes of storage for my house. You start putting your pictures and your movies of your kids, and you just eat up space. This thing. It's not only just a ton of storage, but it is amazingly fast. I mean, I get into hosting my own servers and things like that, and I'm running a VMware. Wait, I shouldn't even be this is an Amazon AWS series. What am I doing talking about VMware? But if I wanted to, I could run an ESXi server from VMware and actually run the servers off of that guy, and it's actually amazing performance that I'm getting off of that. But that's a total side note because I wanted to bring this up. In the effect, where are you going with this? This is kind of a system that Amazon would have. So think of this as one system. It's using a technology like RAID 5 or RAID 6. RAID 5 meaning I take let's say I have a 1 gigabyte file that I want to store on here. It actually puts, let me grab a different color, puts a piece of that file on these hard drives. It's known as striping. Stripe. It's putting it across. So what does that give you? Amazing speed, which we're not really concerned with here, but also redundancy, because the beauty of RAID 5 and RAID 6, RAID 5, I can lose any one of those hard drives. Poof, it's in flames. Fire. And it doesn't touch the other hard drives. And all of that data, it has the ability to regenerate the missing data from that drive on the fly using parity bits. And I'm not going to get into that, but that's the way it happens. Now with RAID 6, you can actually lose 2 hard drives and the thing still keeps running. Now if you lose the 3rd hard drive, the fire is spreading. That's not good. You're going to lose all of your data, and that's one system that has gone down. Now we come back to my point. How do you get 99.999% durability? Well, the first thing that you do is you have a system like that. Now, probably a little better than my little Synology box, but that's a pretty good box. You take a system like that and you run it at RAID 5 or RAID 6 or whatever RAID level Amazon is running at it, and then you double it, and then you triple it. However many times Amazon guarantees that you will be writing simultaneously to at least 2 of these, and they'll be replicating that to even more. So not only do you have to lose multiple hard drives, but you have to lose multiple hard drives out of multiple units all at the same time to actually lose data. Now, the way the writing algorithm works with Amazon is that when they are writing data to this, they're actually simultaneously writing to 2 units at the same time. So I'm storing my MP3 file collection. So let's do Bon Jovi. bonj.mp3. I'm actually writing that to my S3 bucket. They're writing it simultaneously to two of these, and it will not return a success, meaning I will not say Bon Jovi successfully stored unless both of these units say we've got it, and then they do further replication from there. So how do you get that kind of durability level? Putting a lot of hard drives in a lot of places and a lot of units and replicating your data all over it. Now, there are some data, I should say there is some data, that you might not care as much about. Like maybe you've got, I don't know, you've got something running on your EC2 server that is generating log files, and you're storing that in your S3 bucket, but it's going to be a lot of log files that are being written there, and you can actually mount an S3 bucket into an EC2 instance, that not natively with Amazon, but there's all like Jungle Disk. There's all kinds of ways that you can mount an S3 bucket. So you're storing those log files there, and you're like, you know what? Those log files are great for reference. Someday I might want to dig in and find out who opened my website at 1:53 in the morning. But you know what? I don't want to pay for that 99.9999% durability level. I want reduced redundancy storage, and that's what they have. And essentially what that is they say, hey, we will write your data to multiple hard disks. Like maybe they got one Synology box sitting there, and they're writing your data to that, but it's not going to be replicated. You're not going to get that dual write process at the same time. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reduced redundancy is like 99.99% available, meaning I shouldn't say available, but protection against loss. And I could be off on one of those nines or something. It comes out to like if you have 10,000 objects, you might lose an object per year. But what you get by having this is a reduced cost. This ends up being cheaper per gigabyte than the super durability. Okay, versioning support, as I cross it out. It does support versioning as well with S3, which, if you're familiar with Windows, think of this as like your shadow copy. So I've got my Bon Jovi MP3 file, and I overwrite it with a newer Bon Jovi. And probably a bad example, but you get the idea. I overwrite it with a newer one, which is a better sound quality of him singing "Shot Through the Heart." Anyway. So I overwrite it. This is now being stored in the as a previous version. It's versioning is free. You only pay for the storage, and you can see that's going to add up quick if you start storing multiple versions of all of your data. All right, last thing. What is Amazon S3? It is available on the free usage tier, meaning they're going to give you 5 gigabytes of storage and 15 gigabytes of transfer. That'd be transfer per month included, in that free tier for the first year. So, you want to kick the tires. 5 gigabytes, that's, by today's standards, sure, you'll burn through that quick, but that's not, you can do some pretty decent stuff with 5 gigabytes of storage. Just an interesting side note, if you're ever curious, Dropbox. You might have heard of that company. Dropbox uses all Amazon S3 storage. So when you sign up for a Dropbox account and quote-unquote synchronize your files across all your different computers, what you're really doing is storing everything in Amazon S3 behind the scenes. It's pretty much just a fancy S3 storer and copier to your device, and that's created the whole company of Dropbox. Now, you might say, well, how does Dropbox do it? You can sign up for a Dropbox account. I think they give you like free 2 gigabytes. Well, if you think about it from a business perspective, and I probably won't go too long on this because I always think this way. When they're thinking of storage, storage in Amazon S3 is like, I think, 10 cents per gigabyte, and they probably have lower rates negotiated because Dropbox uses so much of it. So if you're running Dropbox and you're paying 20 cents a month per quote-unquote free account, that's a pretty good calculated risk, because chances are after people use your service for a while, they're going to say, I want it to go bigger than 2 gigabytes. You're going to sign up for more. You're going to refer your friends. You're going to help. Obviously, they've been successful at it. So that's a great practical use of S3. So let's get practical here. What do you use a big hard drive in the sky for? Well, I gave you one example just now. You build a company called Dropbox, and you start having people store stuff, and you've written your own little program that interfaces there. Oh, and good grief, I even added. Hang on, look at this. I think I missed it because I scribbled all over it. Right here, I added this at the last second. I go, oh yeah, S3 is compatible with REST and SOAP APIs. Now, this is where we kind of cross that line of development and programming. But essentially, those are the application programming interfaces that run the internet. Like when you go to a website and you say get index.html, or you put a put request to store a file on a website. I mean, all of that is governed by an API known as SOAP, and also there's another one called REST. So what does this allow you to do is create your own applications that use Amazon S3 storage. Going back to that Dropbox example, that's really all Dropbox is somebody wrote a good program that you can install on your computer that takes files on your computer, looks at your computer, and says, okay, I'm going to store those. I shouldn't say looks at files, because I think Dropbox, you manually, you put them there. You drag and drop a file there, and it says, okay, I'm going to generate a put request into Amazon S3 for that file that you've created. And a new subscriber for Dropbox. I'm going to send a create bucket command and add a new bucket to our S3 account for this user that has come in. That's really all Dropbox is. Just a fancy GUI that does all these get and put commands. Makes you think, why didn't I think of that? Dang it! So Dropbox is a great use of S3, or that's why at the end I said whatever creative uses you have. I mean, it's businesses waiting to be born. It's ways of storage in the cloud. So just some simple examples I put. Otherwise, I wouldn't tell you because I would create my business out of it. Hosting a static website. I mean, maybe a personal website. Put your resume, your personal pictures up there, that kind of thing. Hosting image libraries or other static content for your website. So, for example, maybe you've got a really dynamic website. Like here we go. Let's just grab. I always use this one because it's just such a clutter waste of time website. Of course, and Sensa, the ad, comes up. MSN.com. MSN. Here's a picture, static. Here's another picture, static. Here's another picture, static. I mean, these are all static content. Now this little control here, this little widget, look at this. I'm going through my headlines. That is a dynamic, look at that, a dynamic control. So this is being hosted from a web server, but we could very easily point that web server to pull all of these images out of S3. Now you might say, well, why wouldn't I just put those images on the web server? Why would I put them on S3? Well, your web server is golden storage there. I mean, that's running an EC2, or maybe you're hosting it in a data center of your own. I mean, that's high dollar storage that you're paying for. You might as well just say, hey, I'm going to just put it all over here in this S3 bucket where I store for 10 cents a gigabyte and just handle that there. So, all of these pictures are content. Maybe you have a big old download. You've published, hey, download Service Pack 2 for I'm using Microsoft example, for Office 2013 or something like that. It's already out. So that's a 500 megabyte file. Again, I don't want to clutter up my golden storage of my web servers with that. Let's toss it off to S3. Just pay, for the transfer of that, pay for the storage of that file, 10 cents to store it, and bam, we've got it. Now, we haven't even gotten into things like CloudFront, which I'm going to talk about in the next nugget, that can also spread your file all around the world, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, offsite backup for critical data. Oh, I can't tell you. When I was up at CBT Nuggets, and I was kind of creating a case study for CBT Nuggets out of, I got to stop going to MSN. As I sit here and look at this, I'm just like, good grief, what is this stuff? So, where am I going? Now I can't even. Let's get off of this page. I'm going to Google. What was I talking about? I said gone to. Oh yes, super. What was it? Oh, now I forgot it. Super fast file sync. No, it's not. It's not it. It's super flexible. That's it. So there's a guy. He's famous. Rick at CBT Nuggets. He is just a ninja at everything IT. He runs everything there. He's like, dude, you gotta get this super flexible file synchronizer. He said this program is insane. It's $40. It'll change your life. So what this is a little utility. Wait a second. No, because is this it? This is it. It's got to be it. Super flexible file synchronizer. So I think they've renamed it. It's now become something else. That it's got a cheesy name, but you install this on servers, you install it on your workstations, and it will actually synchronize, back up all of your critical data. As it changes, it does block level transfer, so you're not copying everything up to S3 every single time. Like maybe you have a 5 gig file that 1 byte changed. You're not going to upload the 5 gigs. It's just going to upload the 1 byte. So he is all over this. He is like, dude, tell them about super flexible file synchronizer. It'll change your life. So there you go. You got backup for critical data. So you have offsite backup. You also can say, you know what? I haven't used this data in 9 years. Good grief. Let's get it off of our server and chuck it somewhere like S3 where we can pay minimal charges and not eat up our production servers. You can use it for on-the-fly development for your website. Like, for example, maybe you've got well, let me use CBT Nuggets because I know they do this. I go to cbtnuggets.com. Now this is a tightly controlled website that they do quality testing. They have a whole team of developers that go through marketing to make sure it looks the same. I mean everything on this website as well as probably your production website is just dialed in. I mean it goes through many processes. So when somebody says, "Hey, I just want to create a page on our website," the developers may just say, "Hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, put it through this whole process. Let's just create, like I don't know, dump." Create this little, obviously I'm getting a page not found, but I type in dump as this page that using Apache, I can say, hey, if somebody goes to dump, then refer them off to this S3 bucket, and then you can have a whole team developing over there that has nothing to do with CBT Nuggets. Am I communicating this well? Does that make sense? So I could just create little sub URLs of my main website that go off to these S3 buckets. Maybe here you go. Maybe you've contracted with a marketing group to create a new look and feel for your website. Well, you can point this and say, hey, you can do on-the-fly rapid development for our website without having to call us and integrate in. We'll just point this URL using some Apache redirects to an S3 bucket. Just put your files up there, and we'll see what it looks like. So anyway, I'm just coming up with creative on-the-fly solutions for this, but really that's what it is. It's a big storage space in the sky. The last thing I want to bring up is paying for S3. And I think I've explained this up till now, but I just put the URL because as soon as I copy and paste something, it's out of date. So I'm just going to take you straight to what that URL looks like, and you can see that this is storage pricing, so you can see the more that you use, the cheaper the pricing gets. So you think, oh well, how does someone like Dropbox do it? I mean, they're probably who knows how many terabytes they are into on this, but they've pushed it really low on their pricing. Also realize that the place that you store this data will change your price. So U.S. standard, I think that's just the Pacific region. If you type in where is U.S. standard, there's I think 2 regions that Amazon uses as U.S. standard. So you can see what that is. But as I move over to, if I could click it, Oregon. Well, okay. Pricing the same. There you go. California, everything's more expensive. So you can see that all of our pricing has gone up just because I'm sure of the floor space in that data center, the connectivity. I mean, everything's just more expensive. Real estate in there. So based on where you go, your storage price may go up and down. So you have your storage pricing. You also have how many put, gets, copies, list, requests. You can see that you pay a penny per 1,000 requests for these types. You pay a penny for 10,000 get requests. So just think of it this way: 10,000 people come to your website, you pay a penny if they use 1 get request for their index.html. So no charge for delete requests. So just because this is covering Amazon's costs, they are sacrificing processing cycles to handle all these, so helps offset them a little bit. And then you have your data transfer. They're just saying anything that you copy in is free because it's ours, and now you're trapped. So first gigabyte per month of storage free. From there you can just see it scales as you go up. As you get into the petabytes. That's awesome that we're even saying terms like that nowadays of transfer that you're sending in and out. So take all these, put them together, and you actually have this is what you're paying for S3 every month. So there it is. That's S3 in a nutshell, and my Synology is still on fire here. But it's just storage in the sky. Hopefully that gives you a really good idea of what this is. And it's storage that is, I would say, fairly priced. I mean, when you look, and I can say this across the board, when you look at AWS pricing, this is not something you walk away with, unless maybe you're a personal user using that free tier or something like that. This is not something you walk away with and go, wow, that's really cheap. Maybe it feels cheap when you first start looking at it because you're going, oh, well, 10 cents a gigabyte, that's, I mean, what's that? But I mean, you start thinking about, just think this way. I'm just grabbing my little calculator here. Let's say you've got like, I'll take my system. I've got a Synology, this little Synology box at home to store all of my family pictures and movies and all that kind of stuff. I've got about 1.5 terabytes of just that, pictures and movies and all that. And for me, I'm like, okay, is it good? Would it be a good idea to back this up to S3 because Synology supports that, straight in the box? Well, I think about it. I go, okay, 1,500 gigabytes a month times, I think it's slightly more than 10 cents a gig, times 10, well, okay, 10 cents, I should have done point 0.10. That's $150 a month that I'm paying. So, when I look at that, I'm like, ooh, is it worth $150 a month to store irreplaceable memories of my children and my family? No. That's a lot of money. So when you look at it, you're like, okay, it's not cheap, but it's not price gouging. It's fair. I mean, it's a fair pricing for storing 1.5 terabytes. I mean, if you were to go buy data center space for 1.5 terabytes, I mean, that's you're going to be paying quite a bit for that level of durability. So again, it's fairly priced storage in the cloud that you can use for all kinds of practical uses. So in the next nugget, we're going to unfold how this thing really can be configured and how to use it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.